Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. So this is a very basic guide to the vector. I'm going to be explaining the vector, where you can access it and how you can actually use it. So the vector can be accessible in the fractals, in TOS and trading view. Okay, so here I have the trading view loaded right here. So on which you can see this white line right here, that's your vector. Basically, vector is a dynamic support and resistance level that adapts. With the vector, we keep on seeing different support and resistance levels. Okay, if the price is above the vector, this white line right here, it means the price is bullish. If the price is below the vector, it means the price is bearish and it will work as a resistance. Above the vector, it will work as a support. Okay, with the vector we see different types of patterns that we are going to discuss right now. Okay, but I just want you to remember one simple thing. There is absolutely no certainty that we are going to see exact replica of that particular pattern. Okay, there is no certainty in trading. Okay, we can always have some rough patterns that we can use to trade, that I'm just going to show right now. Okay, now here is like some of our patterns that we actually see on QQQ Live. I hope that you are aware about the QQQ Live if you're from RCG, Russell Capital Group. So here we have in total 5 basic patterns that you see repeating every single day. First one I'm going to be talking about is the tabletop. One thing I'm going to repeat again, there is no perfect entry and there is no certainty that these patterns form 100% of the time and they work 100% of the time. Okay, next thing is that a tabletop A. So for a tabletop A, you're supposed to look for an adjustment up of the price and then the price taking support from it. Sorry, adjustment up of the vector and then the price taking support from it. With the tabletop B, there is more likely to be seen like a movement below the vector and then the price actually comes above it. I'm going to be talking about the conditions where a tabletop A or B fails. Okay, next we have the side exit. Side exit is basically when the price actually moves up and the vector goes down. Now, this leads to more of a volatile move to the upside. So these patterns are like for the upside. Okay, so that is why we see more of these like patterns on your contracts. Like right here, if you ever watch QQQ Live, you must have noticed that Mr. Russell marks down tabletop A, tabletop B here and there, showing you that these are potential entries that one can look for. Okay, so now on TOS I'm going to show you these patterns. Okay, first one is the side exit A. I'm going to repeat again, there is no certainty that these work 100% of the time. And if they do not work 100% of the time, we can actually use them to reverse to the downside. Okay, for example, if you're in calls and you see a tabletop A or B failing, that means that, okay, it's time to actually look for puts. Okay, as simple as that. I'm talking about the underlying right here because I'm using QQQ 1 minute. So right here, first one we have a side exit A because the price moved down away from the price, right? The price moved to the upside and then the vector moved to the downside. So that is a side exit A pattern. Next up we have is a tabletop right here that worked out pretty good. Right here you can see the adjustment up, right? The first condition and then the price taking support from the tabletop. Next up, we have another tabletop right here, price taking support from the vector, seeing an adjustment up right here, and perfectly to the upside. Here, we did see a tabletop. It failed, right? I'm going to be telling you about the condition for tabletop A or B to fail. The first one is pretty simple. When the price actually closes below it, it means that the tabletop A has actually failed. Now, the tabletop B comes into the play. Here, the game is of patience now. You gotta wait for the vector to actually move either up or either down, like right here. The vector moved down, right? So that invalidated our pattern tabletop B. Why? Because in the tabletop B, it's pretty simple that when the price goes below the vector in the tabletop B condition, it is supposed to come up without the vector actually changing. So the vector value actually changed that led to the downside move. As simple as that, nothing complicated. Right here, we saw another side exit leading to the upside. Then we saw another tabletop adjustment up, and then the price taking support from it. As simple as that. Next up, we had another tabletop, but this one actually failed, right? And here we did see a bit of a move up, but it failed. As I said, there's no 100% chance that this is going to work. Okay, there of course going to be some conditions where it does not work out. Next up, I'm going to move to the next session. Here we have another tabletop right here leading to the upside move, then a side exit. Now, as I said, with the side exit, I've noticed that we do see a volatile move leading to the upside. Okay, I don't know. This is some sort of a pattern that repeats with the price action. Okay, that is why the vector is pretty much useful. Then we have another tabletop B right here. The vector value did not change and the price also transitioned above it. So this was a successful tabletop B. As simple as that. Another tabletop. This one was pretty great. And then a tabletop here. Right? The vector value did not change. We did see adjustment up, but the vector value did not change. So this was a great example of tabletop B. Another tabletop right here. So these were the main patterns that we noticed with the QQQ or any other ticker that you actually look at. Okay, you can actually just print that image I just showed you right now on your wall, because these patterns right here are very useful. Okay, you're gonna see them every single day forming on different tickers. Even on your fractals you're gonna see them. So let's move on to the vector inside of the fractals, because it is a bit different from the one we see in TOS. Here, the concept of the vector is basically the same. Okay, if the price is above the vector, it means the price is bullish and the vector is going to work as a support. Okay, when the price is below the vector, below the pivot, it means that the price is going to take resistance from the vector. Here, the purple line is the vector. This purple line that you see right here is the vector. Your patterns like side exit and tabletop work the same. Like right here, we can see adjustment up, then the price taking support from the vector. Adjustment up and the price taking support from the vector. Basically the same. One thing that I do want to show is the change of the pivot, and in this vector plays a super important role. Okay, I'm gonna rewind back a bit to actually show you a transition, because that is the moment when the vector actually changes. Here, just before the transition, right here, if I go one more click, we saw the transition, right? So just before the transition here, look at the vector value. It's 455.65, and if I look at the pivot value, it's 456.92. You're gonna see, when we see the transition above the pivot of the price, you're gonna see that the pivot value actually changes to 455.65. Means the pivot value changes to the vector value when we see it transitions either above or below the pivot. Here you saw the transition, and then you saw the change of the pivot value. As simple as that. That is all about the vector. It's that simple. Okay, we have many other patterns like the vector chase, the side exit, and the tabletop that you need to be careful about while trading with the vector. I keep vector as a super important tool inside of my trading strategy as my entry. Talking about entries, let's look at the vector on your contract. Hi, so here we got the vector on the cons. Here is the call con and here is the put con. I'm using 23rd of April, which I used for the example of tabletop and side exit here on the example of cons. Okay, here I have P461 loaded and I have C461 loaded. These are the same contracts from that particular day from QQQ Live. So right here, I told you earlier too, we use the tabletops or the side exit as our entries. Okay, right here on the call con, we did see a tabletop right here. Okay, and the same thing we saw on QQQ, which is the underline. Right here, we saw a tabletop. Right here, too, we did see a tabletop. Okay, and now you must be wondering, how am I supposed to keep my stops? So here I have two simple ways. One way is that you can look for the previous low, like right here, and keep your stop there. The second thing, which I personally do, is that I have a threshold of minus 20% on my cons, so I keep that as my stop. You can keep a fixed stop of a particular number, or you can actually just do this thing right here, which is keeping your stop below the low of the previous low on the tabletop. Okay, pretty simple. Now right here we did see a tabletop fail. As I mentioned, tabletop fail leads to the bearish signal. And right here too, I remember that around 11 we did see a tabletop on QQQ2. Right here we did see a tabletop and it failed, leading to the bearish side. With that fail, there was also a tabletop to the upside on the put con. Right here we did see a tabletop. You can keep your stop right here or just below the vector, or you can actually keep a stop of like minus 20% or whatever threshold you actually have. Right here we did see a tabletop and it worked out perfectly, right? And the next thing we have is on the put con right here. Okay, again, failure of the put con leads to a bullish signal. So right here we did see a tabletop, but if we put our stop right here, we did see the upside, but our stop was hit. Okay, so this does not mean that the tabletop or the side exit works 100% of the time. Next up, we have another tabletop leading to the move from 3.4A to straight up around A. Now, this is a great trade. You can keep your stop below the vector or just below the low right here, or again the 20%. Okay, now this was all about looking at the vector on the cons. It's pretty simple. You just need to look for tabletops and side exit and use them for your entries. A lot of people have problem with the entries that okay, they are great with analysis, they are great with the part that okay, I need to look at these odds and these levels, but they cannot get good entries. Vector is super useful for that. Just look for tabletops, you're gonna get good entries, and the probability of the tabletop working is pretty much high. You guys can actually see right here that we only saw like one tabletop failing, and like almost all the other tabletops were actually working good, right? So this was all about the vector. If you got any more questions, feel free to DM us. Our team is very much happy to help you. Thank you so much.